and I address that as well. I mean, work in progress here, and we will always be doing the work, but I had to stop running, and I had to stop using, and, again, also the breaking and the breaking open, like, I had to break completely. That's where I kind of found the grace.
Strangers with Kittens, Gen X stories from the least parented generation. Hi, welcome to Strangers with Kittens. I'm Eileen Kelly, and I'm really happy that you're here, and I'm excited about this week's episode. Before we get to that, if you happen to be watching on YouTube, I had this sign made up, which is just a placeholder for something cool and perhaps neon or backlit. I'm not really sure. I've searched around a bit online and trying to connect with a sign maker who could do something cool with this. But until then, I just tried this poster just to kind of get a feel for things. If you have any opinions about, I don't know, cool signs you've seen, some suggestions, they would be welcome. Leave a message on the answering machine at strangerswithkittens.com or shoot me an email, hello@strangerswithkittens.com. But back to this week's show. So I get the privilege of introducing you to a really phenomenal human. She's just come out with her first book, a memoir called Breaking Good. This book is one that everyone should read, and that's not hyperbole. I saw myself in it. I saw loved ones in it. I saw strangers that I pitied or ignored in it, because this is a story of being a normal kid in the New York and New Jersey area, and suffering abuse and trying to push through and have a normal life and go to college and get involved in drugs and become one of the most successful drug dealers in Hawaii and face prison and then homelessness and then prostitution, and somehow come out of all of this as just an incredible, generous light of a person. 2 children and a life that most people would covet in a lovely suburb of Manhattan, and write a book about it. So when I tell you that you need to read this book, you need to read this book. It's funny, it's heartbreaking, it's harrowing. There were moments I needed to take breaks just because you really feel like you're on this ride with her, but then couldn't wait to get back to it. It's really something. And now, here's my conversation with author Nikki Mammano. Hi, welcome to Strangers with Kittens. I'm Eileen Kelly, and I am here with writer and friend Nikki Mammano.
Hey! Woo! Very excited.
We were just discussing something called the sneaky lift.
We were.
For those of you at home that are also struggling with, like, you ever just like sit and pull your face up in the mirror and you're like, there I am. Oh, God.
In true Gen X fashion.
And it's like we swore we wouldn't shit about this shit.
No, I
now
said.
Now
we're like,
yeah. Now I'm like, how the heck can I make this put my whole face up? Yeah. So anyway, we're just talking about something apparently called a sneaky lift. That sounds really good.
the sneaky lift.
If we decide to venture into sneaky lift territory, we'll report back.
We will get back to you on that.
But really, we're not here to talk about facelifts. We're here to talk about Nikki's amazing new memoir called Breaking Good. You guys, I read a lot of books. This is the best book I read in such a long time. It's
Thank
so
you.
real. It's so It's dark, it's funny, it's heartbreaking, it's so accessible. I was so moved by it, and, I felt like I was living it with you, but in the
Mm.
safety of my home, which was is a bonus. When you read this book, you'll see why. Um, but I'm just amazed by how resilient you are, how you came through this. Like, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. And you wrote this memoir that can help so many people and that will help anyone because all of us know or have been the person who struggled with addiction, struggled with trauma, struggled with family dysfunction. And you make it all so understandable and human. And you gave language to things that I had never seen someone give language to. And it was things that I struggled with in my own life growing up. And then you named it and you explained it. And I was like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, thank you so much. First of all, I wrote the book so that because you said you felt like you were on the adventure, and that's exactly what I set out to do. I wanted to take people by the hand and them literally to feel like they were experiencing what addiction was like, what living on the streets was like, what trauma was like, and grappling with that and all of that. So that's exactly what I wanted to do. And, it seems like one of the great things of my life is picking myself up off the floor. And so, as you said, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's, as that is a recurring theme in the book. But yeah, I really tried to dig deep and put words to these feelings that took me down that road in the first place and what it was like to be there and then coming out of it and doing the work of, trying to have a life, trying to bring myself back to life. And so, that's really what was my intention. And I'm really glad a lot of the feedback I've been getting is that people, similar to what you just said, that they really feel like they were given words to understand the feelings that they've had. I'm so honored that it's resonated with people and that they're able to connect with it.
How does it feel to be talking about some? I know you've done like book clubs, you've done other interviews. And writers go on podcasts and writers go to book clubs and they talk about their work. But your work is so deeply personal and painful that it's just a whole nother level to talk about.
Yeah, it was, it was a process. The book has taken about 10 years to write. Started with recording thoughts and ideas and memories that I had. And I did that for a while before I ever started doing anything else. And then I, put it down and started to write. And the writing process itself was cathartic and a lot easier early on when it didn't feel as real. Because I had decided when I was going to do this that I was going to do it authentically and real and truthful. And either I was going to do that or I wasn't going to do it at all. So that was the choice I made. And so I went for it 100%. Originally doing it and writing it down was an experience of getting it out. And then I think as it went on and it became more real, that's when I sort of had that like, what did I do? I just shared, the most intimate details of my life and the processes and how I think and, and all that. And it wasn't easy. I had to go through a moment where I had to kind of accept that. And I did eventually come to a place of radical acceptance and a place of being totally okay and feeling free. But it took a minute to get there. And now I'm so grateful that I did. And I'm so grateful that people are coming to me and saying, no, we feel that too, or we trust you because of your honesty, or we could relate to the things that you said in the book. And that it makes it all worth it. Like, I'm so happy I did that.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And I'm so heartened that it's been considerately received.
Yeah. Yeah, because you roll the dice.
You really do.
Yeah.
And it's really exposing yourself and hoping that people see you and accept you and see themselves in you.
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
we really, if we're honest, we're all each other,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And we all got stuff, you know? And I'm a dice roller. I always have been, as you as you read in the book. Like so, so this was like my final. I was like, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens.
That's your final role.
No, yeah, I guess so. That's true. That's true. But it was a big one. It's a big one. So I just kind of like was like, hey, listen, this is the way I'm going to do it, and I did it, and it turned out, so far, really great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good. I am, bust out the reading glasses
Okay.
to because I highlighted some favorite passages or some things that I really wanted to share. But one thing that I thought would be of particular interest is Nikki says, our boomer parents were taught that family ties confer some kind of irrevocable state of grace. Toxic and abusive behavior may not be okay, but you're expected to forgive it, or at the very least, let it slide because it's family and that's what you do. And our parents had bought into that hype, like their parents before them and their parents before them. And then Gen X came along and said, no, that's bullshit. No one, even a relative, especially a relative, should get a free pass for hurting you. And I had to stop when I read that because I was like, a fucking man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such, an important thing for me to put into words and to put out there and to be able to express. And I think for Gen Xers, I think we understand that the generations above us just put up with stuff and let stuff slide. And, they were kind of stuck in that place of just accepting everything. And I think we kind of were able to say, no, that's not okay. We want to be treated better. We deserve to be treated better and take our power back. And for me, experiencing that moment and understanding that well before I ever put that down in the book was just such a pivotal point in my healing to take my power back and to start to love myself and respect myself. And I think it's so important. And I think, and what I've heard, not only from you, but, what I'm hearing is that, Gen Xers especially are resonating with it. And, and I think that leaves space for us to, when we take a step back and we take care of ourselves and we kind of take our power back, we can also understand more. We can kind of see what happened in the generations above us and kind of understand it. Doesn't mean we have to forgive. It doesn't mean we have to forget. It's everyone's journey. It's everyone's personal journey. And I stand by that. And people see in the book my journey and where I landed and where I continue to land. And I still, aside from where I landed, respect everyone's decision because it's so personal, but it does give people and readers and in general the ability to kind of, take a broader look and understand what's been going on for generations before, and that's generational trauma. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that looking at, I mean, it's very empathetic and compassionate to look at what our parents and our grandparents put up with. It wasn't until I started working on my memoir really helped me stop and say, wait, my mom made some messed up choices, but why?
Yeah. And
And I hadn't asked that question before.
yeah, and it's important to ask that question and it's important to understand and see, but it still doesn't mean we have to accept it.
Right.
And it gives us a wider lens. It gives us more understanding and in some cases more compassion. And it also depends on the person on the other side, that's receiving that compassion or that understanding. It's a two-way street.
Well, and just continuing on a few lines down from what I just read, you say some degree of accountability and genuine contrition is the bare minimum required. So just to your point about it depends on who's on the other side. It depends on the circumstance, right? Like that's a part of it too.
Yeah.
Like, you're not required to forgive someone that doesn't even apologize or ask for forgiveness or,
Yeah.
it depends. And or maybe you want to, regardless of whether they do or not, because you want to free yourself. Like everyone has to make that decision.
So important. And that's why I say, like, this is my journey and this is where I landed. And I wanted to show everything, but it really is so personal to everyone involved,
Yeah.
and full respect for anyone's decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you talk about how like, oh, it's family, so you just have to put up with it. But you don't. And I don't know if, I do think that Gen X is the one that really started with, I'm not buying into that, and I've thought of it often, and I wondered, was it the fact that we were so feral and were able to develop our own thoughts and opinions about things, like we had so much time alone or with just with other kids that we could really think about things versus having a parent at home all the time, like just keeping you under their thumb. Was it the music and how expressive it was and how what a big part of our lives music was and television and MTV and all of that? Probably both, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's definitely those. I think it was that we were feral. I think we had different kind of culture than the generation before us. I also think we were the first generation that really dove into therapy. And we have all of these, spiritual people that have come up and have taught us things to look at ourselves. And so, that's added to the mix. And then also we have the generation below us. I mean, the generations below us are so much more in their power, even than we are. So we're seeing the generation below us in their power. We are taking back our power. We're all therapized and working
Right.
on ourselves,
Right.
and
And
you know,
millennials and Gen Z are really inspiring.
yeah, yeah,
Like sometimes, whether it's a millennial friend or like my daughter and her friends, like they'll say something and I'm just like, wow.
yeah. My kids are my greatest, yeah, greatest teachers.
Yeah.
And every day, all the time, even when I don't expect it, I'm grateful for that, and they have taught me so much, and it has helped me. It really has helped me to find myself and find my voice.
It's funny, my daughter was 3 years old and my dad was over and I was sitting on the floor with her and we were kind of like at face level, like I was sitting on my legs and my dad was just I can't tell you what he was saying, but he could be like negative and very critical. Like his attitude was like, if I don't tell you you look horrible, then assume that you look okay.
Yeah, yeah,
And he wouldn't pay anybody a compliment. He wouldn't,
yeah. It's so
he
old
was
school.
always like riding you about something. And I think sometimes, like, I think most of the time he thought he was being funny, but it was just like mean. So she was 3 years old, and my dad was saying something to me, but I was so used to it that it kind of rolled off my back, like I didn't really register, but I'm sure it did somewhere. And I was like looking at him sitting on the sofa as he's just like razzing me about something, and my daughter took my sorry, my daughter took my face in her pudgy little hands and like turned it to her round little face, and she goes, "Don't listen to him."
Yeah, no, they're
And she,
so
like, looked
smart.
right in my eyes, and I was like, "Oh, shit."
Right,
Like,
healing right there. Like one
yes!
second, it's
Like,
yeah,
she was 3, and it was obvious to her that this was toxic and
yeah,
not okay.
yeah, because it's normalized.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a big thing about the generation above us and the generation before is that they hid insults in jokes. And so it's like, oh, we're just kidding. It's like, no, no, no. If you're insulting someone, you're hurting someone, it's not a joke. And
Right.
they did not understand that, at least from my experience. And then, yeah, my kids too, they just know the truth. And for us, that was normalized. And so we do a lot of the, breaking of things that we saw in our generation. And believe me, my kids are going to do a lot more breaking than I even have,
Right.
breaking of cycles than I'm even able to do. But for us, and for me, even so many of the themes in the book were so normalized that we don't see it. And when they see it and they open our eyes to it, it's like, oh my God, right? Like it's
Yeah.
so clear. What was I? But we were taught the whole different way of thinking and feeling. And
Yeah.
you're right when you said somewhere inside, even if it doesn't register, because somewhere inside it does hit.
And it does hurt.
Yeah. And it does hurt.
Yep.
Yep. And that's why our generation is saying no more, I think.
And it's so funny because I feel like our generation, and I know we're very similar in this way. Like, our generation is on the one hand tough, and we're glad we're tough. Right? Like, we've gone through stuff, and it's, I kind of feel like if I had it to do over again, would I not go through some of the traumas I went through? No, because they made me who I am. They did make me tough, and they also made me a better parent because I'm better able to protect my kids. I know what's up, and I can protect my kids from it. And there's a lot. there are a lot of sort of war stories. I mean,
Yeah.
yours are like above and beyond, um, where there's like, it's funny and it's dark and, we made the best of bad situations. And where it's kinda like a badge of honor, but at the same time, if anybody was ever to be like, "Oh, would you be cool with your daughter going through that?" It's like,
Like, no
"Absolutely."
way. No, I
Yeah.
know. I'm like, you can't, where are you going from point A to point B? We were, forget about it, doing things that, and I'm sure that they've done things, all the generations have their moments, but we were doing the most insane, crazy shit. And, it's like, I saw something recently. Someone was doing a funny TikTok thing and they were like, our parents had to be reminded. Remember that day? Like, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?
Yeah.
Right. Like,
It's like you're being reminded
yeah.
by, like, someone who's out of his mind on psychedelics right now or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
good responsible people that are
I know, I know.
Yeah.
And we were just, yeah, and we were out there doing the craziest shit. And it did make us tough. And I have this very tough side of me that's like, no, I survived that shit, you know?
And I can turn it on again in a half a
Yeah,
second.
yeah, exactly. But it's not always on. It's like as we get older, we kind of go, oh, it's there.
It's there and
Yeah,
it's good to know,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But at the same time, there is a part of me that worries about younger generations because it's like, oh, are they going to have that tiger in the back room if they need the
yeah.
tiger? But hopefully they won't.
Yeah, hopefully they won't. I do think because of the generation and because of what they've experienced as far as, what they're learning and seeing from us and just from society, they do have a smarts about them,
They do. They do.
right? Like my kids are like on it with stuff and I'm like,
And they honor their gut feelings. Like if
yeah,
something doesn't sit right with them, they're like, nope, not doing that, not going there, not walking down that street.
totally.
Yeah, they
And
trust themselves.
yes, and making better decisions than I ever made.
But I think that our generation was taught to not, especially women anyway, were taught to not
Yeah,
trust themselves.
that's
It
true.
was like forced to go give that uncle a hug or go, whatever it was like men telling you to smile. It was just like accommodate,
Yeah,
accommodate, accommodate,
yeah, that's
make
true.
everyone else comfortable, which
Exactly.
I know you go into in great
Yeah.
detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to an extreme level.
Yeah.
Yep. And when I realized that, boy, was that painful. But I was just that taking of my power back and that growth there was just enormous.
Yeah. And being able to say, no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to.
Yeah. We definitely weren't able to do that when we were younger.
No.
Yeah.
And I think raising kids that when they say no and we say, okay,
Yeah.
that's like huge.
Yeah. I'm so
Giving them
grateful.
agency over themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Uh, Being a Jersey girl, I loved knowing exactly what you were referring to. Like, no, being able to, and I think as a writer, for me anyway, this was a challenge is putting the reader in a time period and a place,
Yeah.
like really dropping them in to like 1989 or and where you are in the world, and you did it so beautifully. I mean, in Rockland County, in Hawaii, I really felt like I was there with you, and it was particularly fun for me being from
From Jersey.
close to where you grew
Yeah.
up.
I mean, the Bergen County stuff was fun too because it was like Trans Ams and, mullets and mustaches and hairspray and, the wine coolers and stuff like that. I was like, that is classic, with the music and you just put a little music in there and a little wine cooler and, peach fuzz mustache. You're like, okay, I know exactly. Yeah.
Right back there, I could smell the wine cooler.
Right. So classic.
Yeah, it was so fun. And I feel like, I mean, I know that we're from this area, but I feel like it was probably pretty similar,
Yeah.
most places in America at that time, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um,
The 80s.
so yeah, quintessential 80s. That's why I felt so much like I was on this ride with you because there was so much that was familiar.
Yeah.
And then when things really start to get out of control and take a darker, more serious turn, it was like You did such a brilliant job of making it feel like this could be me so easily. This could have been me.
Yeah.
And,
Thank you.
it I think that that is such a gift to every reader, is to feel the humanity and to feel like a couple of different turns in your life and things could be very different. Like you're not above anybody, you're not below anybody. We're just all doing the best we can with what we've got and, no
Yeah.
judgment.
Yeah, I mean, the some of the best feedback that I've gotten is that there's people that have never been around addicts before, never knew someone that was in prison, never knew a homeless kid, and they've come to me, different people, and said, "I now have more compassion. I now have more empathy. I now have more understanding, and I want to do more. I want to be more present, and I want to be less judgmental." And to
Mhm.
me, that's like one of the reasons I wrote the book.
Yeah.
To put my life out there like that so honestly and so raw, I definitely had a vision of letting people in so that they could connect and understand, and we can all kind of be here together,
Yeah.
in this same place, in this same space, because really it's true. It could have happened to anyone. The trauma could have happened. The veering off the path of life could have happened. And we're all just doing our best.
Mhm. And I do, I wrote a post on Facebook, an almost sexual assault, like a unpleasant experience that I got out of, but that this person then went on to do, for other things that other girls didn't weren't able to get away from. And, I just kind of wrote it kind of off the cuff and, put my phone down and walked away. And the next thing I knew, I was getting DMs from people who, first of all, like, I it was barely a blip in my life compared to some other stuff that had happened, so it didn't it wasn't like people were like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry that happened to you," and I was like, It's okay, like, it
Yeah.
was no big deal at all." But, I was getting DMs about things that had happened to other people, either at the hands of this person or just in general.
Yeah.
And they had never told anyone, and they were my age. And me just sharing that small anecdote made them feel safe enough to open up and talk about something that had happened to them when they were 14, 15, 16 years old. And I can only imagine with how forthcoming you are about your story, how many people must feel connected to you and feel like you've created this space for them.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about, how we were shut down and taught to stuff things and to not talk about things. And here we are starting these conversations. And I very much want this to be what Breaking Good brings and what we all start doing. So I'm so open to it, and I appreciate it when people trust me with their stuff as well, because I put it out there. Here we are. Let's have these conversations. Let's talk about it. No one's not welcome. We're all here just trying to heal and grow and have a life, right? Slice out a little carve out a little piece of life. And so for me it's an honor. And I appreciate it so much, and I appreciate the vulnerability of people that come and say, "Yeah, I want to talk about this," or "This happened to me too." It's like, let's connect.
Mhm.
Absolutely, let's connect.
Yeah,
It's important.
it really is.
Uh,
It touches on so many things. It touches on addiction. It touches on abuse. It touches on prison and our court systems and rehabilitation um, and just people. Like how we judge, how we categorize people, self included. All of us do it. We just do it. It's the way our minds work, right? We figure out, with this person, would I have anything in common with this person? Yes, no. Like our mind is constantly making snap judgments, and we're really so much closer to each other than, I mean, like we're at war right now. We are bombing people that are just like us, that are in their homes, in their schools, in hospitals, and they're getting bombed. And so I feel like when you read a story that bridges a gap between the reader and the person who whose story this is, it makes everyone feel closer.
Yeah, there are so many people that have come up to me or text me or called me and said, they feel like everyone in the world should read the book and experience the things in there. And I said when I was writing it, and even when I was talking to my agent early on, we're like, there is something here for everyone. There is prison and prostitution and homelessness and addiction and abuse, generational trauma. But the Yeah, yeah. Right, exactly. Like it's relatable for everyone. And then also, if someone who read it didn't experience these things, themselves, which I've also heard that too, they know someone or they're connected to someone or they know someone who knows someone or, they've seen it somewhere in their life. And I mean, even though earlier I said people have come up to me and said I really haven't had those experiences and they haven't directly, and it's given them more understanding of life. But everyone is somehow, is connected somewhere to addiction, to trauma. And so there really is something in there for everyone, and it does really bring people together. I'm so happy that that is one of the things that's happening with Breaking Good.
I think one thing that it's reminded me of is always asking the why underneath what they see, right? People can walk past a homeless person, walk past an addict, and feel a little unsafe, feel um, maybe annoyed, feel compassion, but maybe also scared, um, but definitely feel distance. And and maybe for a lot of people, judgment comes up. What, you know, why did you let it get to this point? Why would you make the choices you did to end up where you are now? And asking yourself, like, what happened to this person that caused this? This is not something that anyone chooses voluntarily, right?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
you phrased it so beautifully. And this was one of those moments for me where it really gave language to what I'd felt is I spent so long beating myself up, feeling that even at my best, my kindest, my most generous, there was something inherently wrong with me, something dark that could never be good. I'd never understood that everything screwed up about me was a result of what had been done to me. I hadn't been born wrong. I'd been done wrong.
Yeah,
That,
most often by the people I trusted. Yeah,
yeah.
and I had been done wrong. And, that was such when, putting that in the book and that whole ending was very important for me to just kind of lay it all out, put words again to things that I wanted people to have, words for, but also to show exactly the process that I went through to finally be able to open up and start the healing. And I remember talking to my therapist at some point early on, and I was like, I'm a bad person. I've done this. I've done this. And she's like, there was no other way your life was going to go.
Yeah.
Like you were set up for this life.
Yeah.
It was never going to go anywhere else. And like, not like you have to, she didn't say you have to, but like what I got was like, gotta let it go. You gotta let it go. You're not bad. You're not wrong. And so, that is such an important thing for people to know that are struggling, especially people that have gone off the rails and
Mhm.
feel like they're bad and they deserve to be punished. And I try to even address that in the last sentence, the last few words. It's like, I cut that bitch a break because she deserves it. We all do.
We all do.
And we've all been through pain, but yet to your point of other people seeing it from the outside, I talk about that in the book also, where I go back to Hawaii and there I am, this mom, and I've got my stuff together. And what would they think if I was at, if they remembered that I was in that right there, that same place, that same person, but a strung out homeless prostitute?
Yeah.
And, and there would have been judgment.
Mhm.
And not only would there have been judgment there, but, sometimes people didn't even look at us. We were like kids on the street and panhandling, and, people would walk by as if we didn't exist. There's a whole world out there, like we just got to open our eyes and exactly what you said, like where did we come from? Where did I come from that drove me to make those decisions
Right.
to go
It's
to the
something
places?
you do
Yeah.
naturally. So
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing is, when your life is like, yeah, we have, our somewhat minor challenges or sort of run of the mill things. But when you're basically getting like a root canal daily, you need to numb it, right? Like there's a reason that the dentist gives you Novocaine and laughing gas and whatever else. And when that's your life, then you find a way to numb it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You find whatever Novocaine is available to you because otherwise you won't survive.
And, those and I put this in there's another scene in the book, but those drugs absolutely saved my life, and I don't say that to use at all, please. It took me to places I should have never gone, but
Makes you vulnerable, unfortunately, to
yeah.
present.
Yeah, yeah, no, 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 but at certain times, I needed that. I needed that salve. I needed that to keep going.
Right.
Yeah, and to get to where, I finally was able to stop and take a look. And I say that also, like, some point you gotta turn around and stare those demons down. And that's a really hard thing to do. And that takes, you gotta be sober and you gotta want it. But I think we all get to that point at some time, hopefully, that breaking point where we wanna make changes and we wanna have a life. That's the hope. That's the hope that I always had for myself, although I couldn't always grasp it. And that's the hope I have for everyone else.
Mhm. And the hope too that they have enough self-love to feel that they deserve that,
Yeah.
you know?
And yeah, and I don't, that's a hard one for me because I, for a long time, didn't have it at all. And I didn't even know what that was. But, it's the only way that I found it. Yeah, and I'm still working on it. And I address that as well. I mean, work in progress here, and we will always be doing the work. But I had to stop running and I had to stop using. And, again, also the breaking and the breaking open, like, I had to break completely. That's where I kind of found the grace.
Yeah. Yeah, and, people talk about rock bottom, and I know for people that love addicts, it's so frustrating because it can feel like it's like, "Isn't this the bottom?" And it's not for them,
No.
you know? And you think, "How much worse could it get? How much how much lower do you have to sink?" And it's terrifying, and sometimes they sink to the absolute lowest and you never get them back, And you just hope that they come back up before it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, but, it's the trauma and the pain, and, as until we're ready to face the trauma, until we're ready to face the pain, it's really hard to continue. We can try, and I did, and for a long time, I got sober and I did my thing, but I didn't do that work, and I didn't wanna really look at my demons, and we have to look at those. It's the only way for me, I'm gonna say for me, to stay sober, but also have a life. We can get clean, but, until we really take a look at what put us down that road in the first place, it's really hard to have a full life where we can, enjoy and be present. It's such a important part of the journey.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there are a lot of people of our generation who, we were all so separate, and not that kids, and teenagers and young adults can't be closed off now, but um I think because of social media, they see so many stories and they have people sharing their experiences that it doesn't feel as I don't know. I hope the hope is that kids who are going through abuse, who are dealing with trauma, that they can't, if their parents aren't protecting them, or their parents are harming them, or someone in their house is harming them, that they have somewhere to turn. Whereas in our generation, it felt like you are 100% on your own. And also because I feel like we had to be so tough, like at school and on the way to school and on the way home from school
Yeah.
and, you know,
And it was a different time, like, no one was looking. I remember I can look back now, and I remember there were signs, there were things, like, I went to the nurse's office every day, and, I tried to, get someone to notice here and notice here,
yeah.
and, no one was looking then, and I think if that was happening today, it would be a lot different. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, there's still plenty of abuse going on and things we're seeing it in the world every day. Unfortunately, we're seeing way too much of it right now.
Mm.
And there's just evils that are happening, but we are more aware, and we're proactively trying to do things about it. And back when we were younger, in the 70s, 80s, even early 90s, that wasn't happening. It was all
No, and I
hidden.
think it felt like it was just
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like
yeah. You're right.
you had no exposure to anyone else's story that wasn't pretty perfect, that wasn't an 80s sitcom, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
So it felt like it it's you. You're the only one, and also keep it to yourself and portray strength, right? Because if you did show your weaknesses, oftentimes you were made to regret it,
yeah.
because it really was kind of dog
Yeah.
talk.
No, it was. It was in getting down and dirty in the
It
schoolyard.
was. It really was. And like I knew a kid who shared that he was gay with his friend and their whole friend group beat the living shit out of him.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely the times.
Like you weren't vulnerable. If you were, you paid for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, definitely. And even, being gay, I mean, I remember in high school, and, I graduated in 91. So I was in high school late 80s, early 90s. And, you just didn't, there was like very few kids that were out, very few. And now I look back and I know there's more people in my school or around me that were gay, and I was. But it wasn't, no one, you shouldn't talk about it.
No,
Kept it in.
no way.
Yeah.
And really for your safety, you know?
Yeah.
So just going back to Gen X and like this, we have this like dichotomy of being kind of taking pride in being a bit of a badass
Mm-hmm.
and also being like, no, I do not want my kids to
Yeah.
live do half the things that I did or, 90% of the things that I did. But it's got to be hard to be a suburban mom on the fundraising committee for like the third grade
Yeah.
and have some like type A personality moms listening around or this whole committee thing and people getting all worked up about some small element of like fundraising in elementary school and you being like, bitches, I was a drug kingpin in Hawaii. So
No, it's funny though, because I always wanted to just fly under the radar. Like I was so happy to be in suburbia. I was so happy to not be dumpster diving, and to have a house and an SUV and my kids. And, I just wanted to fly under the radar. I was a worker bee. It's like, just always tell me what you want me to do. I'll do it. And I address that in the book, where it's like I'm at cupcake sales and PTA things. And I'm like, all right, wait, gotta go now. Gotta go pee in a cup so that I don't go back to prison, you know? But I figured it out. I mean, it wasn't always easy to, you know, make sense and balance. Yeah, like kind of, make sense of everything and live in the world that I was in and also coming from the other world. But I really was and still am, but mostly back then just happy to be where I was, to not be struggling, to not be in pain, to not be living on the streets, to not be addicted to a substance. So, I loved it. And yeah, so my stories were a little racier. And sometimes I would like dip in a little piece of it,
Yeah.
depending on who I was talking to. And they'd just be like, what? Like, what? What? And I was like, just kidding. I think I kind of took that and put it to the side. I did what I had to do and kind of just, lived in the world I was in. I mean, I knew where I came from. I knew that a few years earlier I'd been in prison. I knew that a few years earlier I was on the streets and, all that stuff. But I really tried to assimilate
Yeah.
and be grateful and joyous. And, I was just happy to be there, happy to be a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing with the kids is kind of hysterical because of like how it's like I had to eventually tell my kids what was in the book, of course. Like there's things I probably would have never told them, but hey, I wrote a book, so like I got to tell you. My older one, I was able to tell a little earlier and a little, more detailed, and my younger one, who's now older, graduating college, I had to kind of, piece it out a little bit, but it's kind of funny because, especially after they knew some stuff, it's like, no, you cannot be out past 12. And they look at me like, I need to know where you are. And, when are you coming home? It's like,
In a way, you have even more
yeah,
because it's like, no, I know firsthand
yeah,
the craziness that exists.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
for sure. But, yeah, just want them to be safe and happy and not do anything that I did.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like I'm sure that you brought so much of your experience to motherhood in a way that was positive and constructive. And, again, we're not even 6 degrees separated from each other. We're really not.
I mean,
It,
yeah, I mean, I did the best I could, and I think I did really good for what I was given. I'm just their mom. Like they don't care that I wrote a book. They don't care about the other stuff.
but there is something really nice about just being like, yeah, I'm just going to nurture you and I'm your soft place to land and the other stuff is the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I have all those experiences and they'll never really know what it's like to be in those experiences, but also thank God.
Thank God.
Thank God. And they have their own. And I talk about them in the book. It was very important for me to talk about them. It was very important for me to, validate their experiences because there were times, and you'll read in the book, and we were trying to balance not giving too much of away, but giving enough. But there were times where I made mistakes, and due to me not dealing with my stuff, and really hurt them. And as we do as parents, no excuse, but I really wanted to validate that for them. And, they're just terrific.
Yeah.
I'm just so proud of them, the people that they are and who they're becoming and grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great job. Do as parents is the best we can with what we've got.
Yeah.
The stuff that, where we messed up.
Yeah. And I think that, my girls came in with some really amazing qualities. And like I said earlier, have taught me so much. And I'm in awe of who they are and what they know. And yeah, just extremely proud of them. Yeah. Yeah. I'm lucky. Very lucky.
Yeah, well, we're very lucky. We're very lucky that you shared your story with us and that it's available for all of us because there aren't many books that I really feel like everyone should read and everyone will get something out of and everyone will enjoy. It's so beautifully written. If you're someone who really likes writing and likes language, you're going to enjoy it. If you like a kind of a twisty turny story, it's here. If you like a story of redemption, if you like underdog stories, it's here. It has something for everyone. Breaking Good by Nikki Mammano. Go out and grab it. You won't be sorry. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's fun as always. So fun. Taking it back.
Yeah. All right. Talk to you next week.
If you like our show, please rate, review, and share on social media. Strangers with Kittens is taped before a live audience of dogs.